and welcome back to the TriPhysio YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about low back pain in cycling, and especially cycling in that aero position. We all know that feeling of getting towards the end of a bike leg or long few hours of training on our bike. We start getting that really achy pain at kind of the lower back area of our spine. What is it that causes this pain? Is it fatigue? Is it poor bike setup? Is it maybe just being in that prolonged flex position for a long period of time? I'd love to share some of my experiences and my memories of first starting out in triathlons. I remember almost performing a little dance on my bike. I'd get to the 50-60k mark of the bike leg in the half Ironman distance, and I'd start moving up onto straight arms, stretching out my back down, moving around, stretching here, moving my legs around, twisting my spine. Nothing seemed to relieve that pain for longer than 30 seconds. I've gone into looking at the curvatures of our spine and looking at the position our actual spine and the joints are in when we're in this position on our bike. And today that's what we're going to be talking about. What is our spine doing from a physiotherapy perspective when we're in that flex position? And is it that flex position that's actually causing our pain, or are there other factors behind it? Our bodies are very complicated machines, and as a result there could be many different causative factors behind our low back pain. So join me as we discuss some of these factors, and later in the video I'm going to show you some very simple mobility drills just to fight that flex position and ensure that you're keeping all the different kinds of movements in your spine. So first we're going to take a look at the natural curvatures of our spine. Our spine have two different curvatures, one that is concave and one that is convex. We have two of each of these curvatures in our spine, so our lumbar spine and our cervical spine. So in other words, our low back and our neck have what we call a concave curvature known as a lordosis, and below our lumbar spine in our sacral spine, and then in our mid-back area, our thoracic spine, we have a convex curvature, also known as a kyphosis. These curvatures allow equal weight distribution throughout our spine, and where these curvatures are compromised either by movement or position, there will be abnormal forces exerted onto very particular areas of our spine. For example, on one disc more than a disc above or below, or in one joint on one side of your spine as opposed to the other. I came across a video on the Global Triathlon Network YouTube channel page where they also spoke about low back pain and cycling, and they correctly mentioned that people who have a flexed lumbar spine, so where your low back is really bent on the bike, more so than just being flexed or bent over at your hips, these people seem to suffer from more back pain. And this goes exactly with what I'm saying about the curvatures of your spine. Because our lumbar spine or our low back area is naturally supposed to be a concave curvature, when we're in the cycling position, it's pushed more into a flex position, which will create an abnormal force distribution on different areas of our spine, which results in pain. If you think about the position you're in when you're on your tri-bike, your lumbar spine, so your low back, and your middle spine are very flexed to allow your arms to reach down into that aero position. Our low back, which is supposed to be concave, as I previously mentioned, has been now forced into a convex curvature, which is abnormal for it. It is not designed to be in that. Our bodies are amazing creations, which sometimes work to our benefit and other times not. If we place a repetitive movement or prolonged postures on our spine for many days, many months, many years in a row, our body actually adapts to that position to make it easier and easier to perform. So studies have actually shown that masters category cyclists, as they get older, naturally have more and more rounded upper backs, because this has allowed them to reach their tri-bars a lot more easily. If you are going to spend 25 years training intensely for triathlons in this bent over aero position, you can imagine how your body starts to adapt to that position. The more it can naturally be bent over, the easier it will be for you to reach that tri-bar on your bike. So what we've got to do is we've got to make sure that we introduce enough movements into your daily routine outside of your bike training hours that fight against this flex position and introduce extension or rotation movements into your spine so that your body doesn't just get used to being in this flexed position. Think about it. Many of us spend many hours at a desk per day in our job. When we come home or before we go to work, we then want to go and spend 2 to 3 hours in our aero position, which is also bent over. If we are not introducing a natural extension or rotation movement into our spines to fight that, that is the natural curvature it's going to adapt to. Studies have shown that when you have a rounded upper back and you lose that natural concave shape of your lower back, you place a lot more compression on the little discs in between your spine. The changes in these curvatures also cause your muscles and your soft tissues to change their resting length. This means that where a muscle should maybe be this long, because it's now lost that curvature, it shortens to that position or it can lengthen. And this changes your movement patterns. It changes the way your spine moves, it changes the way your hips move, and the compression of these discs and the changes in these muscle length have been shown to contribute to the lower back pain that you experience when you're on your tri bike. What we also know is that when there are changes in the angle of tilt of your pelvis, it will also have an effect on your lower spine. This is where bike setup and the angle and the position of your seat becomes so important. There are two different movements that our pelvis can do in this plane. You can either have an anterior tilt or you can have a posterior tilt. If your seat is in the wrong position, it may force your pelvis into more of one position or the other position, which both ways will change the curvature of your lumbar spine because the two are attached to one another. Your body works as a system. I really encourage you to get a professional bike setup done if you know you're going to be spending many hours on your bike. Having your seat just a centimeter too high or maybe a centimeter tilted too forward or too back will drastically change the angle of your lumbar spine and will really contribute to your low back pain. We will be making more videos in time to come that dives further into the topic of bike setup and back pain. But for the purposes of this video, I just want to summarize how a change in the curvature of your spine can contribute to low back pain. The first factor is a change in muscle length and tension of the muscles in your lower back and your lower body. The second is increased pressure through your spinal discs. The third is increased pressure on certain parts of your vertebral bodies, the bones themselves, as well as the joints in your spine. And the fourth factor is spending extended time in these positions that challenge the natural curvature of your spine. So you're probably asking at this stage, what can I do to stop the natural curvature of my spine changing? I'm going to show you some exercises now that challenge this naturally flexed position of your spine in your bike position by opposing it with different movements like extension and rotation movements that you do not naturally perform when you're on your bike. If you can build these exercises into your daily routine along with your cycling, so for example when you get up in the morning or when you get off your bike, straight away put your mat down and do these movements, it'll challenge the flexed position that the position on your bike induces. We should also be introducing postural exercises into our daily routine. As I mentioned earlier, many of us spend many hours at a desk and it just further aggravates this very slumped position. If we can include postural exercises to improve our mobility and our stability of our spine, we will be a lot better off when we're on our bike. The postural exercises I'm going to show you are designed to open your chest and your shoulders and are designed to try and get your back into more of an extended position as opposed to being in more of a flexed position. From my own experience, the other tip I can give you if you're starting out and you're really battling with back pain on your bike, especially when you put your tri-bars on, is to do it gradually. Don't put your tri-bars in a very aggressive position which brings your elbows right together. This places a lot of pressure on your upper back and your shoulder area. Try and increase everything you do by 10% increments, whether it's the distance you ride on your bike, the time you spend on your bike, the distance between your tri-bars. If you increase all these factors incrementally, it will give your body a chance to adapt to these positions and you won't have as much pain as a result. What I found when I put tri-bars on my bike is that if you put them further apart on your handlebars, it increases the space between your elbows by taking them from this position to this position. Naturally, if you look at my spine when I do that, as opposed to that, it actually changes the curvature of my upper back. So when you start, put them a little bit further apart, and as your body gets used to it, you can move them closer and closer together. You might also just want to raise your handlebars a little bit so that your whole body is not in such an aggressive position. So if you raise your handlebars, you're not going to be as bent forward and leaning over. I hope this provides you with a few simple tips and that you understand how our spines are actually designed with specific curvatures for specific reasons. And if there is something that is challenging those natural resting positions, it's going to create pain in certain activities. I'm now going to show you the mobility exercises as well as 1 or 2 postural exercises. All you will need for these exercises is an exercise mat, a foam roller, and a chair. Let's get ready. For the thoracic spine seated rotations, place yourself on a chair with your feet firmly planted on the ground. Place both your hands behind your head and rotate to one side 10 times. You can include breathing in this exercise by breathing in as you return to the middle and breathing out as you rotate to the side to try and get as much range as you possibly can. Once you have repeated 10 repetitions to the one side, repeat the same thing to the other side. For the thoracic spine seated extensions, place yourself in a similar position to the exercise before. Hips and knees at 90 degrees and your feet flat on the floor. Place both hands behind your head, and I want you to extend your upper spine backwards as you look up towards the ceiling. The trick in this exercise is not to hinge or to get movement in your lower back so that you're arching your lower back, but rather just to arch from your upper back. The height of the chair that I have in this video is the perfect height for this exercise because it can give you some feedback as you fold back over the backrest of the chair. You can feel it push against your back. You shouldn't, if you put your hand behind your lower back, feel an arch developing as you perform the exercise. Try and keep your lower back flattened against the back of the chair while your upper thoracic spine extends. If you are battling with this exercise, sometimes it also helps just to move your elbows outwards and backwards a little bit to try and help you with the extension movement in your spine. Start small, and when you feel like you're getting the hang of the exercise, you can increase your range of motion. For the thread the needle exercise, you will need your foam roller. Get into an all-fours position on your hands and knees and place the roller to one side. Take the opposing arm, feed it under your abdomen or your chest area and onto the roller. Roll the roller back and forwards as you rotate your spine in and out. For progression for this exercise, once you've rolled the arm through and under your body and back, place your hand behind your head and open your chest out to rotate your elbow up towards the ceiling or to the sky, depending on where you're doing the exercises. Again, you want to repeat both of these 10 repetitions on both sides. If you're battling with just the first format of the exercise, do not do the progression until you feel you are ready. The world's greatest stretch is also quite a tricky stretch. You want to get into a lunge position with one foot forward, resting on your other knee behind you. Place your opposing arm to the foot that is forward, flat about 10 centimeters next to your foot. Feed your other arm through the space between your grounded hand and foot, and then rotate outwards and move your hand up and back diagonally. Repeat 3 sets of 10 on one side and then change over. As a progression to this exercise, you might want to lift your back knee up off the ground so you're in quite an extended lunge position and repeat the same movement. Try not let your knee that with your grounded foot in front of you sway out to the side. Keep it sturdy and allow the movement to come more from your spine than anywhere else. The McKenzie Extensions or upper body push-ups is quite a simple exercise. Lie flat on your tummy with your hands just above your shoulders and just wider than shoulder width, and start slowly by lifting your chest up off the ground. Start with smaller movements until you feel comfortable, and as your body warms up, you can push higher and higher up. With this exercise, it is important to keep your hips firmly planted on the ground with the aim of fully extending your elbows by the end of the exercise. Many people make the mistake of trying to lift themselves up using their back muscles. That's what your arms are there for. Rather push up through your arms to relax your lower back muscles so you don't get a pinch in your lower back. As a progression to this exercise, include breathing. As you push yourself up into the push-up position, breathe in, hold at the top, breathe out to allow a little bit more of a sag into your spine, and then lower yourself down and repeat. Hip flossing is what we call a dynamic movement or a dynamic stretch. It's not a passive stretch which we're holding in one position for 30 seconds. Again, get into a half kneeling position where one foot is forward and planted on the ground and the other leg has its knee planted on the ground and your foot behind you. Place both your hands on your hips and you're going to alternate between two different pelvic tilts. Earlier in the video, we discussed the anterior and the posterior pelvic tilt, and we are now going to use these movements in this exercise. The aim with this exercise is not to rock your whole body forwards and backwards, but rather to picture tilting your pockets on the front of your pants up towards the ceiling and then letting go. You do this by squeezing your bum as hard as you can, tilting and opening your hips up to the front and letting go, and repeating 3 sets of 10 of these on either side. The hip flexor stretch is similar, but this time this is a static stretch. You will need a foam roller for this exercise. Get into the same position as you were for the hip flossing and place the foam roller directly in front of you. Put your hands flat on top of the foam roller and push down the straight arms to activate your core. Move the foot that is behind you out to the side as I show, and gently squeeze your bum and push your hips forward or tilt your hips forward as we did in the previous exercise. You should feel quite an intense stretching pain down the leg with your grounded knee. If you really want to get the most out of this exercise, you need to hold the stretch for 30 seconds, repeat it 3 times in a row on both legs, and do this 3 times a day. The prone scapular setting with deep neck flexion is a postural exercise. Start on your tummy with your head facing down. You're just going to gently lift your shoulder blades back and away from the ground. As you do this, you can also try and retract your chin. This is the kind of movement you would do as if you were trying to make a double chin. To progress the exercise, perform the scapular set by pulling your shoulders back and away, retract your chin, and then lift your hands up and off the mat and hold this position for 10 seconds. Obviously, if this is a very hard exercise for you, it will be better for you to start with one of the movements at a time. And as those start becoming easier, you can then add in another movement until you can hold them all for 30 seconds. The open book exercise is another mobility exercise to improve your thoracic spine mobility. You're going to lie on your side, bend your knees up to 90 degrees, place both your hands out in front of you, and rotate your top arm straight over your body. Try and keep your knees together so that as you rotate your arm, you do not pull your whole body over. You want to get as much of movement as you can coming from your spine and not elsewhere in your body. There are 3 different variations for this exercise. First with bent knees to 90 degrees as I showed, and then extending your top leg to 90 degrees with a straight knee while your bottom leg is in line with your body. You're going to repeat the same movement. The third variation keeps the same position, but this time you're going to rotate your hand over above your head, keeping it on the floor the whole way around, and then bringing it straight back over your body. If you are comfortable, repeat 3 sets of 5 on either side. As you've heard from what I've said in this video, the bent over position in cycling does have an impact on your back, and you're not imagining that little niggle that creeps in every time you hit the 2-hour mark on your bike. Try and build these exercises into your daily routine and let me know how they help you. Or perhaps, do you have any favorite drills that you've found really help to relieve the back pain you get from being on your bike? Won't you share it with us in the comments below? We'd love to hear from your success stories and share it with those of us that are also experiencing back pain. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to our channel. Remember to hit the bell button on the right hand side. This notifies you when YouTube have released one of my new videos. And if you know of anyone battling with back pain on their tri-bike, please do share this video with them. In our next video, we're going to be discussing various ways you can lengthen muscles. Cycling is known to really shorten muscles because of the muscle actions you use on your bike, and we just want to discuss with you various options you have for lengthening your muscles and ensuring that you stay away from injury. Take care and see you soon.